Coming up, don't even think about stressing out this holiday season.
And the district begins its campaign to give back to local charities in a big way.
All that and so much more coming up on this edition of We Are Washington.
Welcome to We Are Washington. Coming up, house guests, gift buying, travel plans, and sometimes the in-laws. We're tackling holiday stress and giving you the tools on how to avoid it this year.
And we'll bring you some of the faces behind the 62nd annual DC One Fund, which aims to raise $1 million for local charities. But first, the news rundown. Mayor Muriel Bowser released an action plan to preserve the district's existing supply of affordable housing. The goal of the D.C. Housing Preservation Strike Force is to preserve affordable housing units in Washington, D.C. by 2020. The mayor also announced the winners of 13 projects that will produce more than 1,200 affordable housing units across the district.
We set a clear goal that we would focus on growing the middle class in Washington, D.C. We wanted to make sure that no matter where a person lived or what their background or income was, that they would be able to find affordable housing in the District of Columbia. In 2016, we spent a record $106 million of the Housing Production Trust Fund, the most that has been spent in a single year on affordable housing in the District of Columbia.
Humanities DC is celebrating the 225th birthday of the nation's capital with a year-long series of historic and cultural programs called Humanitini. The happy hour conversations bring panels of academics, musicians, and experts together for lively intellectual happy hour debates. The most recent installment, entitled The High Cost of Home Rule, was held at Busboys and Poets in Northwest. To learn more about the Humanitini series, visit wdchumanities.org. The D.C. Chamber of Commerce honored district business leaders at the 2016 Chamber's Choice Awards and Gala.
The annual event is a chance for the chamber to recognize some of the most innovative business leaders in the city.
What we're celebrating tonight is our impact, issues advocacy, networking, connecting people, and educating our businesses. And that's really what it's all about, celebrating innovation and celebrating our impact in the city.
Dougie Fresh and Biz Markie helped the black tie crowd loosen up on the dance floor.
If you're a fan of superheroes and comic books, you'll be interested in the conversation happening at the Library of Congress. A panel discussion and presentation is exploring the history of African American creators and characters in comic books. The discussion is centered on the roles of African American characters as well as their prominence in these publications throughout history. Also on display are comics and cartoons from the library's prints and photographs division, as well as some others created by Daryl Goza, a well-known author of African American comics.
Teaching the world how we can grow with hip-hop is the goal of the Words, Beats, and Life Hip Hop Festival.
The six-day festival featured performances, workshops, battles, and presentations. Most of the events took place at the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts. The festival had everything hip-hop and then some, from meditation and yoga to the role of social media and the launch of a new 2-year project called From Ciphers to Ciphers, Hip Hop is Muslim. And to cap off the inaugural event, none other than Grandmaster Flash, who received the Words Beats Life Remix Award, Pioneer of the Year.
They call me a legend, but a lot of times that title, I fear it, because a lot of times legends die before they get to see what they've done. I just happen to be a geek that seen the playing field in the 70s, and I said, no, 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 no. That's not how I hear it.
The mayor's office on Asian and Pacific Islander affairs held its 2016 Diwali reception. The event is a celebration of the Hindu Festival of Lights, which reminds us that light conquers darkness and hope overcomes despair. This year's Diwali celebration included a performance from Indian comedian Vijay Nathan.
It is also a time to reflect on the ways that we can assist others and shine our own light into the world. So for our city, it begins with embracing the differences that exist among all people and within all 8 wards, and helping to ensure that everyone has a fair shot at a good life.
One of our premier talk shows here on DCN is celebrating its 15-year anniversary. The Q&A Cafe with Emmy-winning producer Carol Joint marks the milestone with special guest, New York Times columnist and Pulitzer Prize winner Maureen Dowd. On this special episode, Dowd discusses her timely new book, The Year of Voting Dangerously.
What's your procedure? Do you write at home? Do you write at work? Do you write in the morning? Do you write at night?
It's just pure fear.
Okay.
It is. It's like you just sit there in front of a blank screen until you realize. And this was really funny because when I did it in New York, back in the days with the printing presses and the trucks, the delivery trucks would literally be running. I'd hear them running downstairs and I wouldn't have anything on the screen. And I still remember how scary that felt. Most of the time I wake up in the middle of the night and think, why do I have this job? This is such a, it's such a scary kind of job to tell people what you're thinking or what they should think.
You won't want to miss this interview. Visit entertainment.dc.gov to learn more.
Tank, Ro James, Big G, and the Backyard Band, just a few of the artists that kept the crowd moving at WPGC's 17th annual For Sisters Only event at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. The event is a celebration of sisterhood and combines lots of music and entertainment with plenty of information on topics like health concerns and financial empowerment. Also lots of hot celebs like Rotimi, the actor and singer known for his role in the series Power. We caught up with him following his performance.
This is a special show. It's honestly the best show on TV. So being a part of that, man, is life-changing because now people respect the talent and they've seen it on a wide scale. So it's amazing.
Great to have the chance to speak with Rotimi. He's actually a graduate of Northwestern University, and he has a degree in communications. So
wow.
An easy interview to do.
Honoring some different skills there, different skill set, I guess, right?
He can do just about anything.
I guess they can go hand in hand too, right?
Definitely.
But that's interesting. And there were a lot of performers at the event, a lot of different musicians, musical acts. I would have been interested in seeing Tank myself.
Oh, I'm sorry you missed him.
I missed it.
Next time.
Right, yeah, next time I'll do it. But also, speaking of all the different people that we saw there and you saw there, Tracy Braxton.
Yeah, she was there. She loves the For Sisters Only event. She's lives in the DMV, so I think she's been there many times.
Okay.
And it was great to get a chance to speak with her. She has a record coming out soon, and we actually have an exclusive interview with her that we will be showing you on an upcoming episode. So that's a little tease for you.
Great. So probably fun to talk to her and see her at the event. That must have been nice.
And
great.
it was interesting to talk to her about doing a reality show because that to me, to me that would be awful to have to do. But for their family, it's been great.
Right, and she's a singer, her family that's kind of a little bit of fame there too, so that's understandable. But I wouldn't want to do that. That's not something I'd be interested in. Yeah, putting everything out there and reality show for the public.
This is enough for us.
No, that's enough. This is enough. Okay, well, coming up, the holiday season is a time of year filled with gatherings, family traditions, and food. But is all of the celebration causing us more stress than relaxation?
Yes.
We asked the psychologist. The answer is coming up next. Whether it's planning for large family get-togethers, buying presents, or carrying out your own holiday traditions, there's no shortage of tasks to keep us busy as the holiday season arrives.
Absolutely. And as we think about those long to-do lists, one extra item that is important to add is remembering to take time to relax, reflect, and enjoy. That may be easier said than done. So we spoke with Dr. Vail Wright with the American Psychological Association for some insight.
In general, when people are asked how they feel about the holidays, it's generally positive. A happy time, a joyful time, but there is a group of individuals who report that their stress increases during the holidays.
Okay, and why is that? Why do we feel that?
So generally people report feeling that they lack time, that they lack money, and they feel some sense of pressure to create the perfect holiday, the perfect day for them and their family.
Now, what about younger people? because if you're a kid or if you're, maybe even a teenager or younger, usually you don't have as much of this going on. You don't have to play host, and you get to enjoy it a little bit more. Is it something that only adults tend to feel, or is this something that can affect, basically any age group? What do you think?
It can affect any age group, but I think you're right. Generally, what we find are younger people aren't nearly as stressed about the holidays and the experience of it. We do know that women typically feel more stressed than men around the holidays.
Okay.
Again, we think it's because they're often tasked with more responsibilities. They're the ones doing the cleaning, the cooking, often the gift buying, so it's a little bit different there.
Right. Okay. So the other question is, what do we do about this? How can we make the holidays an enjoyable time without feeling like all of this pressure and feeling like we have to have the perfect holiday dinner or get together? How do we do that?
I think it's important to take some time to reflect and think about whether or not these traditions and the things that you're doing, whether they line up with your goals and your values. And once you've done that, once you've figured out what it is that you value, to really prioritize that thing. So if it's getting together with family, then prioritize that. Maybe cook one less dish and instead take some time to go out and play a football game in the backyard.
Right.
If this is a time when you really value your blessings or being grateful, so spend some time volunteering.
So we're talking about family and those types of get-togethers, but there's also a lot of obligations, whether it's the office holiday party or whether it's a neighborhood get-together. I think sometimes for me personally, sometimes it's hard to say no or set boundaries. But tell me about how important that is when it comes to your schedule and it comes to what the obligations you have day to day generally, and then trying to add those into it too.
Right. So I think the holidays are often a hectic time because of all the different get-togethers or gatherings, responsibilities that you might have. And so again, I think it comes down to, what do you value? What's important to you? And then putting your time towards that. And that might mean saying no to certain things. Or it could be really sitting down and having some honest conversations, either with your family or with your kids, about what is realistic for us to spend maybe on this occasion, or how much time do we want to put towards one thing versus another.
And how much does money come into the stress of this time of year? Is that one of the big contributors, or how does that usually work out? Does that come later, or do people think about it as they're spending the money too, usually?
I think it's both. We have found that in general, people report that the money component is particularly stressful for them. There's a lot of pressure, I think, from our commercialized society to have the perfect gift, to buy the things that you want for other people, and so people feel pressure to do that. Maybe they're not thinking forward about how much they really have budgeted towards gifts during this time of year, and so I think people really do find it stressful.
How stressful is New Year's for people in terms of I guess the passage of time, or watching another year come and go? Is that something that contributes to holiday stress too, or how does that play into the whole?
Yeah, sure. People do generally feel maybe a sense of mourning almost that the year has gone, and people haven't maybe met the goals that they set for themselves at the beginning of the year. So a couple things happen. I think one is people set up again this expectation of having the best New Year's Eve, and so that becomes a stressful sort of planning of how we're going to celebrate this culmination of the year. The second thing I think that happens is that people then set some pretty lofty goals for how they're going to attend the next year. Things that they want to change, the accomplishments they hadn't quite met the year before, and that can also create a lot of pressure.
It's interesting to hear what Dr. Wright had to say about New Year's, because I've always found New Year's to be stressful, because you're kind of looking back at all those things you thought you were going to accomplish, but you didn't.
Sure, yeah. I mean, and you don't always group that into the other holidays when you're saying that holiday season. But there's a lot of expectations about planning the perfect New Year's Eve sort of get together or celebration, which never happens. And then obviously, assessing your goals. What did you accomplish? What did you set out to do? So it can be stressful, but you got to remember that's one of them too. And
exactly. As long as you can see the ball drop, you're good.
Exactly. Right. But we heard from the expert. But what are everyday people doing to relieve stress during the holiday season? We wanted to know what traditions you had for ensuring the holidays are relaxing, fulfilling during this time of year. Take a listen.
Really? I eat. But I don't have any kids, so for me it's not as stressful, so I buy for nieces and nephews, but just the joy of knowing that I'm I'm giving to the people that I love. It's no stress for me.
I take this time around the holidays, I start working out. It's really weird because during the summer I don't really work out much because it's so much fun happening. Around this time I get to work out and I really de-stress before my show. I get my workouts done in the morning and then kind of like seems like my entire day just flows very easily.
Onesies and wine. That's all you need. We call it the onesies and wine, right?
Make sure you get some you time, because we are always consumed and bogged down with things that we have to do, deadlines we have to meet, people we have to see, things to get done. So if you take some time for yourself, even if you're just going to read or meditate or do yoga or run, some of the things that I do, just take some me time, and that helps with everything to keep that balance.
My de-stressor is unbelievable. I think you're going to say, what? I love nothing more than waking up on a Sunday morning and watching a Western. I'm talking about with the lassos and riding on a horse, but...
No, it makes sense because those movies have a very slow pace.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just, people say a Western. You watch Westerns? I sure do. Yep.
Really fun to get the chance to talk to those WPGC personalities and find out what they do to, make sure that their holidays aren't stressful.
Right.
They have, their own little traditions
sure.
to keep it chill. And you strike me as a very laid back person.
Yeah.
You're always very mellow. So what's your secret? What do you do to make sure you stay that way during the holidays?
Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. That's nice of you to say. I would think that, my plan is, it's very simple rule. Just do what you can to avoid heavy traffic during that, driving back to see your family, friends, whatever it is. Just stay out of the heavy traffic situations because that's always what gets you stressed out.
Stay in the house.
Stay in the house. Don't leave the house.
In your pajamas. Don't even
leave
bother
the
getting
house. That's
dressed.
it. Exactly.
And as a person I've spent many years driving 95 up to New York and back during the holidays, and I can say that is very stressful. You don't want to do that.
You're right.
Coming up, employees of the district government are taking part in an annual tradition of giving during the holiday season. How they're pledging their support and embracing the spirit of giving back to the communities that they serve. Coming up. Welcome back to We Are Washington. Each one, give one. That's the motto of the DC One Fund, an annual district government charitable fundraiser. The campaign kickoff party at the Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment was a trick-or-treat Halloween theme. But the effort to raise more than $1 million for area organizations, charities, and nonprofits extends well into the holiday season and touches countless lives here in the district. Take a look.
I feel like I'm underdressed. Tell me what you're dressed up for today. What are we doing here with DC One Fund today? Tell me a little bit about that.
Actually, you look very nice, Matt. And I'm dressed this way because we're having our 62nd annual DC One Fund campaign. The DC One Fund campaign is the only time that we ask district governments to make contributions to charities of their choice. You can make a contribution to a charity in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And it's very important that we remember those who are less fortunate than we are.
Feed the Children is one of the largest anti-hunger organizations in the country. And one of the messages that we're sending this year is feeding bodies and feeding minds. So not only are we feeding kids, but we're also making sure that they attend and stay in school.
One of the great things about the DC One Fund is we raise $1 million. We raise $1 million for nonprofits in the city that are working directly with the people. And a lot of our agencies happen to work with those nonprofits.
Our mission is education, and that is our big push. If we can do that education while you're having fun, then we've done our job.
Today, we've not only found people that are going to support us and going to give to us, but we found people that have a heart to want to volunteer in the community.
One of the things that we're working on is Project Homeless Connect, where we helped 357 homeless or at risk of homelessness individuals. We had medical attention, we provided them breakfast and lunch, and this is our backyard, this is our neighbors.
We're all touched by people who may have heart disease or Alzheimer's. So I just like to be a part of giving back, and it really feels good.
So that was just a handful of some of the organizations, people representing them that we talked to. All of the places that you can, donate money to as part of the DC One Fund.
So many great organizations.
Many, right. I'll be honest, I'm usually partial to the animal shelters I see in the book because I'm affected by those commercials you see on TV, the Sarah McLachlan music, and then you see the dogs and they look sad and they're looking at you in the face, and I have to, right?
To be honest, when I hear that music and I see that commercial coming on, I just turn it off right away. I can't get through one of those. Otherwise, I'm just like, sobbing uncontrollable.
It's tough. You have to. I know. I get it.
They're effective.
Okay, well, that does it for us today. But we do have time for one last thing. So what do we have?
Well, since we were talking about the holidays, we're talking about how to avoid stress. People do spend a lot of money. It turns out that Americans spend on average about $800.
Okay.
But what makes me really happy is that together we spend about $5 billion on Christmas presents for our pets. So I think that's a good $5 billion.
With a B?
Yes, $5 billion for a B because we love our pets, that's for sure. I think that's a good thing.
And judging by the way, the speed that my dog goes through the chew toys, the stuffed animals like
he
that,
goes through about $5 billion just on his own, right?
I get it. I understand. So that's it for us today. Thanks for joining us.
We leave you today with some of the fabulous performers from For Sisters Only. Enjoy.
I'm a classic man. You can beat me when you look this clean. I'm a classic man. Calling on me like a young OG. I'm a